Hello, my name is JalBagel, and this is Monster Hunter World Any Percent. This is a new game file all the way to the first credits of the game, which happened after the high rank experience of the game, which is the base game experience. Once again, my name is JalBagel, and I am joined by my co-commentator Green Speed. Say hi, Green.
Hello.
And yeah, we're going to be taking you through Monster Hunter World. Really quick, I just wanted to talk about some incentives that we have planned for the run. So right out the gate, we do like to raffle away the Hunter and Palico names for the game. So those would be great bid war incentives. We can do them separate. So one Hunter name bid war and one Palico name bid war. We already went ahead and did our raffle earlier, so we already have our names picked out, and we'll show them here in a second. Also, something that we like to do is the Bully Dota Gamma incentive, Bully Dota Gamma bid war. At a point in the game, we will see Dota Gamma, who's a fan favorite monster. He's a little blue lizard that likes to eat rocks, a little chunky. He's great. He's adorable. And we have a choice, or we have the option to drop a very large rock on him. Right? So I like to put it up to chat's choice. Are we going to drop the rock or spare the Dota Gamma? And that would also make a great bid war. Dota Gamma is a fan favorite. Some people love him, some people hate him, and so it is a great little tug of war bid war to have too. The last incentive that we wanted to do was a showcase called Hog and a Frog Showcase. The Monster Hunter World Leaderboards has a kind of meme category that's called Hog and a Frog %, where we dress up our adorable little pet pig, whose name is Poogie, and we put him in a little frog costume. And so the speedrun is to do that as fast as possible. It's like the first 12 minutes of the game, so I figured we'll just do that as a showcase during the run, which we can do it about 2 hours into the game instead. So that's a showcase incentive that can start when the run starts, and we can run it for the duration of the run all the way up until the end. Honestly, we can do it at pretty much any point all the way up until the end. I like to do it around the 2 hour mark, right before the Elder Dragon Rush. But really, the world is our oyster for that. Some of the things that we thought about doing too is some donation drives. So just like Pokemon Community does, donate for your favorite Pokemon's Dex entry. We'd like to do just donating for your favorite monster. There's a couple hundred monsters in the series as a whole, and my personal favorite is Nargacuga, and so I would love to see all the Nargacuga love coming through. But we also wanted to do a Guess the Monster donation drive, which we're gonna pick a monster, we're gonna write it down, we're gonna hide that, we're gonna conceal it, and then let people donate to guess what that monster is. And for every correct guess, I'm gonna donate $25, and anyone else is free to match that. And so when someone guesses one correct, we'll pick another one, and we'll just keep kind of going down the line like that. And I mean, the run is estimated 2 hours and 35 minutes, with another 5 minutes added for the Hog and a Frog showcase. So definitely plenty of time to get multiple guesses in and multiple correct answers in, to not only drive additional donations, but also make me match it. So I guess without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started here. I'm going to go ahead and finish getting our hunter together, who is named Fatals. Thank you, Green, for naming that. And then our absolutely great highlighter yellow cat named Rig, courtesy of Not So Innocent Bystander. All right, Green, you want to give me a countdown?
Yep. In 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so this is Monster Hunter World. Like I said, it is a action-adventure RPG taking place in the monster hunting universe. Little context to this game, because we've skipped some cutscenes already. One, we have a cutscene skip mod, so we're going to be skipping them constantly. There's an hour and 3 minutes of unskippable cutscenes, except with this mod, we get to do that. But the pretty much the story is we have been observing an increase in the phenomenon called the Elder's Crossing. Historically, the Elder's Crossing would only occur about once every century, but we have been observing elder dragons crossing over the ocean to the New World about once every decade now. And that has alarmed the organization that we work for, called the Commission, and so they are sending us over to go and investigate. And so far they've sent other fleets over. We are the 5th fleet of the Commission to come over and investigate the Elder's Crossing. And so we were coming over at the exact same time following this monster called Zorah Magdaros. We're on its back right now. We were following him over. And then he surfaced out of the ocean and wrecked our boat, and that's not cool. But we're going to continue. The whole story is kind of revolving around Zorah Magdaros and his movements and what he's up to and understanding why he's doing what he's doing. Because it's a little suspicious, right? Like, why is this activity happening? To talk about Monster Hunter as the speedrun really quick, though, this game, what this game lacks in tricks and skips, it makes up for in just really cool execution and just really good gameplay and really understanding the mechanics of the game and taking them apart and dissecting them. So a lot of what you're going to see us do is all intended, but it's just it's just really taking advantage of like how the game is designed and what the game is allowing us to do. To talk about our category, this is any %, which allows the use of add-on items. Add-on items are a subset category that we created. They're items that were added to the game after the launch. So this includes item packs, but most notably the armor and weapon that we're going to be using mostly, which is the Guardian armor and Defender weapons. So Capcom added these tools to the game to help new players play through the base game experience as fast as possible to get to the Master Rank DLC Iceborne. That being said, the gear is good. It's very good. It allows you to completely ignore the crafting and upgrading mechanics in the game for the most part, reducing the amount of grinding that we have to do and the amount of RNG that we are susceptible to during the run. So we won't be going for any monster material upgrades per se. We won't be making any monster like armors or monster specific weapons, but instead sticking to the Defender weapon and Guardian armor with a couple of exceptions. So this is a little tutorial section introducing new mechanics to the game. This is the Ancient Forest, and I love this place dearly. It's a big forest, and I really like that vibe. But the game is introducing to us some new mechanics, the first of which is stealth, and I'll let Green talk a little bit about stealth.
Yeah. So the funny thing about stealth is for many years in our commentary for this game, the joke was the game's going to teach us about stealth here and then we're never going to use it again. That is not the case anymore. We realize stealth is actually a very powerful mechanic because the monster can't see you and its AI becomes a lot more controllable. So we'll be using stealth in a few places to help us set up openings, to help us secure a trap at the end of a hunt, and near the end of the run, we will actually be using it to keep a monster permanently in stealth AI to make a script much more consistent.
Yeah, we could talk about that really quick, too. You'll hear us talk about scripting or a script a lot, and think of it exactly as that, like a script to a play. We, each quest, each monster, we have a sequence of things that we want to do from start to finish to achieve the same result, hunting the monster as fast as possible. We read the script, the monster didn't. So a lot of what we do is trying to make sure that we stay on script. And we'll get a little bit more specific about what that means when we get further into the run, because it's a lot more obvious. Zephyr Wolf, thank you for that tier 1 sub. Welcome into the bagel shop, my friend. Really quick, the handler is teaching us about another new mechanic introduced in this game, and that is monster tracks. So we can pick up monster tracks to learn more about a monster's position, condition, whereabouts, and other information about it. And the game later is going to force us to do that to progress. So we'll talk more about it then, but at least for now, just know that tracks exist. And it's a kind of a slow mechanic. It's intended to slow down the gameplay towards the end of the run, but we just blitz right through it because we're really good at memorizing stuff. Really quick, also, this is Great Jagras. He's a big version of the other little yellow lizards that we saw earlier. But what's that? Oh no, a T-Rex! That's Anjanath. We're going to see these guys later for sure, but for now, they exist, and we're on into our first major hub area. Excuse me. I like to describe this game as hub-based, because after every hunt, we do kind of come back to this centralized area. For now, the one hub that we have unlocked is called Astera, and we'll be coming back to Astera a ton. And throughout Astera, we can find a bunch of different kind of facilities, like places to shop for materials, the smithy to upgrade our weapons, the research center to learn more about the monsters that we are investigating and hunting, melding, all sorts of things. The bounty board. There's a ton of facilities in here, and we're going to interact with most of them. But the only problem about Astera, and you're going to notice it too, is that this place is big. It is spread out. There is stuff everywhere, and so we aren't going to like using Astera. There is one other hub that we're going to unlock later, and it's much smaller, and we're going to use that almost exclusively from the moment we unlock it. So right now, we are experiencing something called an NPC walking radius. At certain points in the game, an NPC is going to be escorting us through a section, and when we're too close to them, it's going to make us walk. But if we can get far enough away, we can start running again. And so this is going to be our first like little itty bitty skip here. This is called Mercer Skip in the English version of the game. Field team leader here is voiced by Matt Mercer. Shoutouts. So this is Mercer Skip. So what we're going to do here is we're going to try to walk out of field team leader's walking radius and then squeeze right past him to start running across this bridge instead of walking next to him the entire time. So we just walk towards these crates here. You start running, take a sharp left and hug this wall, and you just get right past this little walking radius and right on up to the canteen, which we will never be using. Green, I mentioned that we aren't playing this game in English, though. Can you talk about languages really quick?
Yep, so you can see here, and in a few other places in the game, there's some sections that you can't actually mash through, and it's based on the duration of the voice line. We're actually playing in the Monster Hunter language, which it's closest to Japanese, but it's been translated so many times, it's basically gibberish, so the sentences are a lot shorter. Over the course of the whole run, I believe it saves about 40 seconds, so nice free time save.
All right, there we go. I was trying to make sure my mouse was going to stay on this computer. So this is our room. We should only be coming here once. We actually do have a couple of backups that rely on the room, which is kind of cool. But we're just going to be equipping our weapon really quick. And there are 14 weapons in the game, and we're going to be using 2 of them throughout the run. And that's just because these are the weapons that are just strongest for this point of the game. You know, there's always contention about what's the best weapon, what's the strongest weapon, and a lot of people kind of look at that based on the end game presence. But remember, this is the beginning of the game. This is game progression, and so we're going to be doing things a little bit differently throughout the game too. Your different armor sets have different skills on them, but we're going to be staying pretty much with this armor set the entire time, which doesn't have any DPS skills on it. So nothing that's going to make our weapon or any specific weapon operate any better than something else. So we're really choosing our weapons that are just good out of the box. That's how I like to describe it. And we're starting with Sword and Shield. And Sword and Shield is a really potent attack that's called Perfect Rush, and we're going to be using it a ton throughout this run, mostly because, and this is very high-level game knowledge here, and it has to do with something called motion values and park brake modifiers. It's... Oh, gosh. We're going to talk about it more later. Instead, we're going to talk about small monster quests right now. Green, I'm going to let you talk about Jagras of the Ancient Forest.
Yep, so this quest, if you look in the top right, does require us to slay 7 small monsters. And their AI is a bit interesting. They start outside of their cave, but once you kill 2 of them, all the rest are going to run into the cave, and we have to chase them in. However, we have a little strat we can do that after we kill the first 2 or optimally 3, we're going to run into the cave ahead of them and shoot this torch pod Bagel's about to pick up onto the ground. That'll create a little campfire on the ground, and if it's positioned correctly, all the Jagras that run into the cave through the front entrance will just get caught on it and die. So we'll only need to kill 1 more in the cave.
I generally go for 2 in the cave just because it's a little bit faster, as long as you can like anticipate that you're going to do it. But yeah, we're just going to get 1 right here. Oh, we got 2. All right.
Beautiful. Do you need to focus on this movement, or can I talk?
Yeah, you can talk about it.
Yeah. So now we're in what's called an end timer. You can see the 60-second timer on the top of the screen when a quest ends. Since there's no way to skip this, we're going to use it to get any gathering we need done. And this end timer is actually a big factor in our routing, because there are 2 ways to end a quest in this game when it comes to large monsters. You can hunt the monster or slay it. Slaying a monster is self-explanatory. You hunt it down to 0 health, it dies, the quest ends. You get a 60-second end timer to carve the monster and gather anything you need. However, the other option is capturing a monster. which we're gathering some of the materials for now. If you have a monster in a trap and use 2 trank bombs on it while it's at 30% health or below, the quest will instantly end, and because you can't carve a captured monster, the end timer is shortened to 20 seconds. So capturing a monster always saves a minimum of 40 seconds just from the end timer, as well as usually about another 30 seconds to a minute because you don't have to deal that last 30% of its health. And every monster in this game that is capturable, we will be capturing.
Including the very first monster.
Yeah. Making a quick stop at the shop here to gather trap tools so that we can actually make the trap to capture the monster, and then gonna head to the smithy where we can craft our defender weapons.
Yeah, and let's talk about those really quick. So I mentioned that Capcom added these to the game to make progression through the base game a lot faster. I mean, they are, for all intents and purposes, speedrun weapons. At their inclusion, they were the best weapons in the game when they're fully upgraded, so that tells you a little bit something about them. So we're going to craft our first one here. This is the Defender Sword and Shield, but we're not going to use it right now. So we're going to craft our Switch Axe, and that's the weapon we are going to use. We're going to be switching to SNS later. And the majority of the run is done with SNS, but we'll start out with Switch Axe because it just trivializes these first couple of fights. All right, so our next quest is 2 quests in 1. This is going to be a small monster quest that leads into our first large monster quest, Great Jagras. And this is where Defender weapons really shine for this, especially Defender Switch Axe. Defender weapons have a ailment on them called Blast. And Blast is a status that can be applied to the monsters as you attack them over and over again. When that threshold has accumulated enough, a small explosion happens, which is a fixed amount of damage. Right now is 120 damage. And that's just extra damage that gets dealt to the monster. So very good, potent kind of status here, right? We're hoping for a blast proc to happen on these monsters. Where are you people going? Why are we like this? Already not great. They're all spread out. So you know what? It's actually like perfect marathon luck. But they are actually all spread out, these little Kestodon. All right, there we go. There's a blast proc. You can kind of see what that looks like. With Switch Axe, mathematically, we expect 1 in every 3 hits to be a blast proc when we have amp state. With other weapons, it's a little bit different. But yeah, we're just kind of hoping for that blast proc to happen sooner rather than later. Moving on to the second set of the Kestodon, we do have to slay 8 of these total. The first group is 3, the second group is 5. And just depending on like how they're grouped up will change, you know, how quickly we can do this. This looks like a good grouping as long as that one doesn't move too far away. We're good. Good blast proc, good slay. And then these two, as long as they stay close to each other, we're good. Good blast proc. Good blast proc, and good blast proc. Nice. All right, cool. So the second set was much better than the first. All right, Green. Talk about your baby. Talk about your strat here. Your other child to this game.
So this is what's known as Capris. For the first, like 3 years of running this game, we thought we had to slay this first monster coming up, Great Jagras. Did eventually figure out, with a gathering reroute in the first quest that you saw earlier, and then a small gathering reroute on the way to hunt this monster, it is actually possible to capture him, saving about 30 seconds. But the very neat thing about this monster is trank bombs do last a bit after using them, so you can use them before the monster is actually cap ready. We are going to use our trank bombs before ever dealing damage to this monster, get it into a trap, and then damage it all the way down to 30% health before it leaves the trap.
Ooh, good jump. Nice.
Nice.
We can do the game
gathering
strats.
some parashrooms here, for more trank bombs. And then the last thing we need to capture this monster is up this tendril, some ivy for some pitfall traps.
And that took 3 years to find.
Yep. So we are on a bit of a cycle here, waiting for Great Jagras to get under this rock. But since we're waiting for him anyway, we can actually run up here, pick up this slinger ammo, drop the rock, and then use these trank bombs to bait him into stepping into the rock, and just save some time by using them while we're waiting for the rock to fall anyway.
I can't believe I got that. Yeah, I didn't get the head, though. Whew. Not even close.
So you may have noticed there.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I'll let you talk.
Bagel put down the pitfall trap during the topple, but the monster didn't fall into it immediately. Environmental knockdowns in this game actually have, I think, the highest CC priority in the entire game. So until the monster gets up from that boulder topple, it can't actually fall into the traps. That gives us more time to get our damage done. And optimally, that big explosion at the end would have ended the quest, but unfortunately, just got the wrong body part.
Yeah, that big explosion is called zero-sum discharge, which is what's going to allow us to fully lock down the monsters in the early game here. The strategy kind of falls off towards the end of the game just because the thresholds are much larger and the damage from it doesn't quite keep up with the like curve of the game. But we will use it on one of our later hunts, just not on all of them. Or two of our later hunts, just not on all of them. So this is a mechanic introduced in Monster Hunter World. This is called an expedition, and they are like quests, but you don't have a time limit. You don't have a cart limit, like a number of times that you can faint, and you just kind of exist out here and hunt whatever spawns and whatever's available in the locale when you're here. Very, very neat thing to do, especially when you're just kind of like playing aimlessly. I always loved doing this, just coming out into a locale and just, you know, hunting a couple of things, hanging out, and then leaving. But this is our first example of what we call an assigned expedition, which is a story expedition that has set parameters to it, and you know, there's no RNG associated with it, unlike the traditional versions of them. And we're given some objectives to complete during these, and they'll change, you know, between like going to specific areas, spotting specific monsters. Right now, our objective is to unlock a camp, and then immediately after that, it's going to want us to hunt a monster. Ooh, no goofy jump. I might run out of stamina up here. That's okay though. And the next monster that we are hunting is called Kuliaku. It's a big chicken. Bird up in chat. And he's got some really funny AI. A lot of this game is taking advantage of AI and using it in very unique ways. And this one's pretty funny. If we use a flash pod on this monster, it doesn't move. That's it. That's its whole mechanic. It just stands still, and it's great. So we gathered one flash bug earlier to create a flash pod, and we're going to use that to just make sure that Kuliaku doesn't move. There's like a 1 in 10 chance this doesn't work, and because of just how strong switch axes and defender weapons in general are, if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. I just have to use my control wisely to make sure the monster doesn't try to leave. Yippee, it worked. Uh-oh.
Oh!
Okay. Hold, please. So he should not be here.
Yeah, this T-Rex being here, I have seen like a single-digit number of times across all runs from all runners.
And why is it that I've gotten it 3 times? Gonna do a little bit of extra damage here. Okay. Well, the T-Rex is over there. 1. All right, we can leave. He's not supposed to be here. Remember what I said earlier that that we write the scripts, we read the scripts, and the monsters can't read, and they don't read the scripts? That's what I mean. They don't read the scripts. Unfortunately, stuff like that happens all the time, and you can see that, like, well, not all the time, but that stuff like that can happen and does happen, and it just loses me 20 seconds for no reason. So this is why our estimate's probably a little on the safer side, because, like, you know, stuff happens. really quick, just buying a bunch of the material. Like that's our last shop for the entire run, isn't it? Oh well, no, I guess the one before Zorah too. But we're buying the majority of the items that we need from the shop right there. We'll talk more about what those items do later. For now, we're just moving on to our next hunt, Pookie Pookie. I just don't, man, Anjanath just like wants to be a part of the run, like super early. He can appear on that expedition. He can appear on this quest, and it also loses 25 to 45 seconds. So we just have to kind of keep an eye out for Anjanath. He just likes to be places when he's not supposed to be, and it loses time.
Yeah.
I'll let you talk about the Pookie Pookie quest. It's actually a really good example of our first full lock using ZSD chaining.
Yeah. So you may have noticed during that Kulu fight, he was doing the same kind of stagger a lot. Kind of a backwards stagger. He looks at you and he's drooling. That's what's called a claw stagger or a clagger. It's a special type of stagger that the game wants you to use the clutch claw for to latch on. And when you latch onto it, it actually extends the duration of the stagger. So what we're going to do is we're going to... most of our scripts are going to be about chaining claggers together. So when this Pookie gets up, we'll be in a ZSD, which will let us ignore its roar. And here's our first clagger. And now dropping it and clutching on. A little late, unfortunately. But ideally, that would extend the duration of the clagger. And then a ZSD actually takes less time than the full duration of a clagger. So we'll delay a couple seconds, then clutch on and do a ZSD. And that'll time it out so the ZSD ends as the monster's coming out of the clagger, so it can clagger a second time.
I like how I can finish this hunt before you have time to finish talking about what we're doing in the hunt.
Yeah.
And that's going to be kind of a common theme throughout this. So we're going to do our absolute best to kind of preface a lot of the fights with what we're doing. But that's ZSD chaining. This fight's a little bit different because he has AI. You saw where he's like stuck his head up and he started looking around. I actually want to use the ZSD to cancel that AI because he's about to jump up in the air and fly around. And you know, that's slow. If he gets off the ground, that's slow. So I do this fight a little bit differently just to make sure, just to make sure that he doesn't get off the ground. So I don't do like a perfect lock there. But we'll see more ZSD chaining later in the run, because now is the best kind of quest. Yippee! All right, I got a question for chat. What is the best kind of quest in any speedrun? Any speedrun anywhere. What is the absolute best kind of quest? You can find it in every speedrun. Every runner loves that speedrun, that level. We absolutely enjoy it, and we always want these in every speed game. Video game developers, put these in all of your speed games. Auto scrollers, and specifically escort missions, because that's what this is. So, one, we can't skip this cutscene. It softbox the game, and two, this is an escort mission. So the handler and the researchers are pushing around this cart, and we're gonna have to meet them all around the Wildspire Waste here to progress them further. But we don't have to stay with the cart the entire time, so we're gonna take advantage of that and do a ton of gathering here. We are going to be gathering like roughly like 60-ish% of all the materials that we use during the run during this quest. And while we're doing that, the cart is progressing to its first kind of, we'll call it a checkpoint, right? And so we have this routed out. So by the time that we get to the checkpoint, it's like the exact time that we have to be there for it. So you can see I'm gathering a bunch of things like god bugs, the sleep herbs, we'll be gathering more parashrooms. But one of the big ticket items here that we're going to be grabbing, which changed a lot of our routing when we started really understanding this game, is mite seeds. And mite seed routing is really, really important to this game. How many we have and when we use them is very important to how we script out the game. Mite seeds are consumable items that increase our damage. Green number check, was it like 10, 5? I don't remember.
10 true raw.
10 true raw that it adds to the calculation of our damage. And that lasts for 3 minutes. And we can combine mite seeds with other items to make other items that stack with might seeds and increase our damage. So the god bugs we picked up, we can combine that with a might seed, and it makes a demon powder. Also, 10 true raw for 3 minutes. And then later we can also combine it with a catalyst to make a demon drug, which gives us a benefit for the entire hunt. What is it, 5 or like 3 or 6?
Demon drug is 5.
Demon drug is 5, yeah, okay. So demon drug is 5 raw until the end of the hunt, or you cart, whichever comes first. So we are coming up to our first little checkpoint. You can see that the entire time we are gathering, and you know that's the great thing about this run too, is convenience in the routing, right? The routing just kind of makes sense with the progression of the game, and you'll hear me talk about it all the time. But there'll be points where we're like, man, I could really use X item, and it's just in the route at that time. And it's very, very cool. A lot of this like movement hasn't changed. You know, it really hasn't changed from within like the very first year that we started speedrunning this game, which is cool. Like, I think that's really neat. Okay, I got here very early. All right, so there's our first little checkpoint. And then the next one happens pretty quick, and so I'm going to be doing some inventory management. Green, I'm going to let you talk about the next couple of things that we're going to be doing so I can focus on them.
Yep. So we recently discovered that specifically the next checkpoint cutscene and no other part of this section goes faster or slower depending on your frame rate. So after Bagel finishes his menuing here, he's actually going to drop his frame rate cap down to 30, and that is going to save 8 seconds. 11 seconds over his 144 FPS. Here. So the game's gonna look a bit ugly for a second, but for whatever reason, during this cutscene where this monster spawns in, the cart keeps moving, and it moves faster the slower your frame rate is. Nowhere else in the quest does that happen, but during this cutscene it does for some reason.
Thanks, Capcom.
But now we're gonna go back to base camp for a restock, and then all of those items we just gathered have actually respawned, so we're going to run through the majority of that gathering route again. Grab some throwing knives from the box. That'll let us make paralysis knives, which we're going to be using on this hunt. We unfortunately can't take throwing knives between quests with us. Restock here in quick inventory management to make sure trap tools are in the first slot of the item box. That is going to be really the only item we're restocking most of the time, so we just want it in the first slot so we can restock it as fast as possible.
Gotta bob and weave through these guys. Yeah, and then everything that we just gathered, it's back. And so we can just pick it up again. And so we are still on a cycle here that we have to be very, very cognitive of. We are trying to meet the research team at the very end of this hunt where we're going to be fighting the monster. And so, you know, we still have to move optimally through all of this area. We still have a lot of gathering that we have to do. So being mindful of, like, your timing here is very, very important. And just trying not to waste time. Doing all that menu management, that's about the slowest part of it all. And really messing that up can mean you miss the timing at the end here. Because you'll notice that most fights in this game are started with a cutscene. And we can take advantage of that in some places, this being one of them. But this quest in particular, the trigger for the cutscene isn't there until the research team gets there. So we can actually set up like traps and bombs inside of that trigger where the monster is going to spawn to start off this quest. It's a very, very cool little strategy, and I love it. Once again, more parashrooms here, and we're going to be picking up nitro shrooms next. And the nitro shrooms are only going to be used to make gunpowder, so we have a couple of large barrel bombs that we can craft throughout the run. And it's not super important, but it actually helps us make up some like damage gaps and thresholds in our script, which is, I mean, it's kind of cool, right? just like a little bit of extra damage from these explosives help us make up these gaps in our scripts. And that's what I was talking to about the might seeds earlier, is they help us do that too. Like using might seeds in specific spots gives us more damage. So when we do a PR, it results in a clagger versus nothing, right? And it can be that close. And it's actually really, really cool when we really started testing out, what can we use and where. That was a really big one, was like how many might seeds do we have and where can we use them? Nice. All right. Green.
Yep. So starting this fight out by detonating the bombs, and this is Perfect Rush, our main bread and butter with Sword and Shield. We can fit 2 in during this pitfall trap, and then we're actually going to dodge out and Slinger Burst these paralysis knives. Slinger Bursting does 2 things. It increases the power of whatever you're using, which lets us paralyze in 1 knife instead of 2. And second, it lets us go immediately into a Perfect Rush without having to start with a slow back hop. So we can fit 3 PRs in on the para and end with a finisher, which has a huge amount of part break, which lets us get claggers very consistently. Grabbing the clagger and dropping off of it there still extends the duration, so we can use that to place our tranks and trap down. And now it's pretty close to death, so we just need 1 more PR and it's done. If you are familiar with this game, for a bit of reference on how strong Perfect Rush is, without the finisher, it is the same amount of damage as a True Charge Slash from Greatsword, which needs a very long combo to get into.
Yeah, it's good. It's very, very good. And so you're going to see this strategy of us pre-tranking and trapping the monsters, and we can only do that because of scripting, right? No extra Thunderbugs. We can only do that because of scripting, because we know what the monster's damage is at and how much more we have to deal. So during these fights, not only am I trying to do this accurately and perfectly, I'm also paying attention to my damage, where it's hitting on the monster, how much damage I'm dealing, number of blast procs that I've gotten, all these different factors to make sure that I have enough damage to end the quest. Because if I put down the materials and the monster doesn't capture by the end, if I don't get the HP under the threshold to capture by the time the trap ends, I just have to slay it now. We have 1 backup right now, and that's it. This route has 1 singular shock trap backup and no extra tranks, but that's how consistent this has been, that we can get away with doing that. Missing a trap generally results in about a minute time loss, because about 30 seconds to hunt the monster, and then another 40 seconds to wait for the end quest timer, because we get an additional 40 seconds. So not ideal. So we're just not going to do that.
So this monster is actually a unique type called a Piscine Wyvern. And the thing that makes these monsters very unique is they drop powerful slinger ammo much earlier in their HP pools than other monsters. So it lets us get a lot more utility sooner in the hunt. So starting out with a wallbang into 2 PRs with no finisher. This is building up some KO damage. And then dodging out, and we've done enough damage that it's dropped a Slinger Thorn. Attaching this to a monster's head makes it take a lot more KO damage. So now the monster is toppled. We can fit in 1 PR here with finisher. Now it's taken enough damage that it's going to jump away and enrage, which gives us an opening to pick up the next Slinger Thorn and do 2 Slinger Bursts into the head to get our next KO. And we can fit in 2 PRs here with a finisher on the last one. And that gets us a clagger. And then we have to be careful here to avoid the mud, because you can't actually place a trap in the deep mud here. And that is a perfect Gyratotus.
Yippee! That was a gold Gyratotus for me too. Let's go.
Yeah. So we haven't really talked about it much because it's not as relevant in the early game, but monsters do drop powerful slinger ammo as they take damage. You saw those red pods on the ground. For every monster in the game except this one, the first pod drops around 35% health, and the second pod drops around 25%. So we know if we've seen the second pod drop, it's capture ready. And for most monsters, if we see the first pod drop, we know it's safe to pre-trank and trap it, and then do the last 5% of its health in the trap.
I just saved
but
7
this game,
seconds.
wow.
I got 6 Thunderbugs.
Yeah.
Right, 7?
Material RNG.
Yippee. It's not required,
6
but it
Thunderbugs
does save
saves
time.
9.
Oh, it saves 9 seconds. Let's go.
Yeah.
And it's an
We
extra.
save 7.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's a little bit of material RNG that we look out for. It's not required to do the run, but it does save time because we don't have to gather nearly as much now, and also makes this next quest safe in my opinion, because now I can use an extra trap without being punished for it. And the next fight is it's really cool, man. It's really cool, and Green can probably talk about it a lot more sophisticated than I can, but it's really, really cool. It's Tobi Kadachi, and it's a really, really neat fight.
Yeah. So this fight is actually going to take advantage of the fact that Sword and Shield can use items with the weapon drawn, which, funny enough, is suboptimal in most cases. But for here, it's actually going to help us because it's going to let us animation cancel and place a trap a lot sooner than we could. Being very careful to use the Might Seed and Demon Powder here at specific locations so that ledges are canceling the end lag, just a bit of a minor optimization. Picking up a scatter nut here.
Frames. It saves actually frames, but it's free, so why not?
Yep. This scatter nut is going to be used to help us get KOs again. That's going to be our main form of CC in this fight. So going into this cutscene, Bagel's actually going to be holding the guard button and just mashing the use item button. That lets him place this shock trap down instantly, and his weapon is out so he can immediately slinger burst and go into a PR. And tying this PR out so that it doesn't actually...
Unfortunate.
I forgot about the roar dodge, sorry.
No, you're good. How is that anywhere remotely near me?
Alright, so there's our KO. We can fit 2 PRs in here.
I'm gonna do this safe.
Yeah, a bit short on damage here, so adding in 1 more PR just for safety. There's first pot on the ground, so we now have a very safe opening to capture. And this is our first use of stealth in a hunt. Nice.
Yeah, a little slow, but playing it safe there just because I missed the roar dodge. And it's pretty tight. I just kind of messed up the timing for it. And then some pretty precise, well, not precise, but tight gathering at the end here. But yeah, just like a single mistake can lead to large time losses. Like you see, like, oh, I missed a single roar dodge. Anyways, there goes 25 seconds. But you know, it's okay. We actually do have like a ton of places that we can save time throughout the run, just like doing things optimally. So that's just what we're going to be aiming for the entire time. All right. So historically, this game and Monster Hunter games have been tracked by like large story progression based kind of milestones, and we're coming up to the first one. This is the second to last quest of the first partial 80% category, called Zorah 1, or One for the History Books. But this is the Anjanath fight, and we've seen him a couple of times. He's shown up now a handful of times in our run. And now he's invited to the party. Now we can actually go and hang out with him. I'm gonna let Green talk about this script though. It's very, very cool.
Yeah. This script is one of the hardest Sword and Shield scripts, but also one of the ones that saves the most time. So we're gonna be starting it out with a flash, because Anjanath has a very long starting reaction to flash pods where he just doesn't move, and it gets him into a much better position. Now Slinger Bursting for KO damage, and we can fit in 3 PRs here, because when he gets out of this trap, he's going to have an extra head flail as he recovers from the flash. Claire. And now this is our first example of a tenderize. A claw uppercut gets us half of a tenderize, and then this special attack gets us the rest of the way there. There's our KO. Pick up this bomb pod that was dropped from the tenderize attack. Slinger burst into a PR. And because he tenderized the head, it's now taking, I believe it's about a 10% difference on Anjanath. Now we're going to use stealth, use some Slinger to lure him under this rock and drop it on him. It's 5% of his health and a topple.
I thought I took my mantle off too early.
Oh. We're going to pre-trank here, fit in 2 PRs.
Positioning is all sorts of messed up. Oh, but we dropped the
And pot on the ground is very good.
Another
placing the
instance
trap
with using switch act or SNS's ability to place traps with the weapon out right there. You could shield and place the trap so the weapon's already out, so you can start slinger bursting just like on Toby.
Yep.
See, it is usable in more than one place.
It is usable if you are placing a trap and nowhere else, unfortunately.
All right. Well, that was a gold Anjanath for me, too.
Nice.
Yippee. Make sure we take the resources here. So we talked about, like, how we don't really have to worry about upgrading. We don't have to worry about, like, upgrading and making monster upgrades, monster material upgrades and stuff like that. And because Defender weapons, they do get upgrades. They are upgradable weapons. But the materials required to upgrade them are guaranteed to be dropped, at least one of them, at least one of the material from certain assigned missions. So we are always guaranteed to at least have one fully upgradable Defender weapon running through the story, which is really cool. It's a really good, interaction that they made so that, people can just focus on playing the story and playing the game instead of having to focus on this other mechanic that can be very, very involved, right? Like hunting and gathering and doing the crafting, and it can be a very involved process. And I totally understand where some people would not like doing that, and they just want to play the game and have a good time. So Anjanath gives us our first Defender weapon upgrade with a single Anjanath scale. Ideally, we get 2, so we can upgrade both of our weapons, because remember, we are using 2 throughout this run. Welcome to Zorah Magdaros. So, as the story goes, we have tracked down Zorah Magdaros, and like I said earlier, Zorah Magdaros was doing some stuff, and his Elder Crossing is the one that we are investigating, and so we want to capture this monster so we can research him and study him. We are going to attempt to capture Zorah Magdaros in this quest. This quest has 2 phases, Phase 1 and Phase 2, and the strategy that we are doing is called Fast Zorah. So a couple of things have to happen for the quest to end. The first thing that we just did right there is a ballista binder has to be shot in Phase 1 for Phase 1 to progress. If we don't do it, the NPCs do it, and it takes like 3 times the amount of time than just us shooting it. So we just get up there and we shoot one immediately and we call it done. The next thing that we're going to be doing is waiting for specific animations so we can cancel them with the cannons and ballista. Zorah Magdaros has 2 attacks that he does in Phase 1, and we can cancel those animations to help progress this quest a little bit faster. As long as the animation starts, it doesn't have to finish, it just has to start, the quest will progress. Getting rid of these wing drakes, because they can be a little bit mean while we're shooting cannons, and, it's just easier to get rid of them. And while we're waiting for Zorah Magdaros here, push this cannon to the left once, and we can manage, do a little bit of item management and inventory management. I'm going to craft these. We can open up this and drop 1 gunpowder. And I can go ahead and hide these items. And last but certainly not least is put that onto our radial. And we are good. All right, cool. Oh, and you know what I'll do right now too? Is the thing that Green just taught me about. There we go. Pop star dance in the first slot. So we are just waiting for Zorah Magdaros here now, unfortunately. This is a very long waiting game, and it is what it is, but we just try to do things to help speed it up as fast as possible. We will be waiting a lot longer on the next section. Timing here. There we go. Good. That's the flinch that we want to see. And now we're just going to run over here and get set up on our next cannon. But we're just shooting these cannons at specific animation kind of tells. Make sure that we stagger the monster at optimal times. I'm going to try to get rid of as many of these wing drakes as possible because they are they're mean. They like to knock us around when we are speedrunning the game. And so just want to snipe them out of the air here. I put the Ghillie Mantle on here for a timing reason, because it times out perfectly, taking this Ghillie Mantle off and running over to the ballista to shooting your first ballista. Waiting for the animation to end. It's just a really weird thing that I do because I don't like waiting 1 second here. That second one flinches. Oh no, he's here. So now we're just waiting for an animation to progress before flinching the monster one more time so we don't lose 25 seconds. Yippee. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of our 12 shots into the chest. So I've talked about earlier kind of like dealing damage is going to cause certain... We've talked about like dealing damage is going to cause certain like effects and statuses on the monsters, like the trips, like the claw staggers, KOs, all those things. This is actually an example of that happening right now. We are dealing damage to Zorah Magdaros, so his flinch threshold, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is now less than 40 damage away from activating. If I shoot him with a ballista right now, he's going to stagger. I'm actually going to wait to do that, though, because we're going to cancel his roar animation. Shoutouts to Green. He figured this out. We're going to cancel his roar animation here with this last shot. Just wait. Now? How much does that save? Like 5 seconds?
Maybe 3.
We take that. We take 3
good
seconds.
Pre-fire.
Yeah, we take 3 seconds. But it just stops him from doing his big roar animation, and it transitions him directly into doing breaking the barrier. And that's going to be phase 1. So in phase 2, we actually don't really need to rush here, which is a really nice thing. So we're going to take our time. We're going to manage our inventory. We're going to organize our item box. We're going to restock on items. We're going to craft some stuff. It's really, really nice. Just a nice little breath here. Oh, why is it all the way down here? I'm not used to that being down there. So I'm crafting mega nutrients here, because later we are going to use those to make some, 1, 2, yep, and then, do I need to make a shock trap? Did I not? Yeah, I need to make a shock trap, that's right. What am I doing? There we go. And one of those, all right, cool. But the mega nutrients will become mega potions later, and we are going to take those with us now. We want to take our thunderbugs with us, and these 2 bombs that I always forget, and that looks good. Our inventory looked good, and now we're just going to sell until we have 3,600 Zenny. And the great thing is that we don't need any of these monster materials, right? We can just sell them all. Just need 3,600 Zenny, and we're going to keep one of these Pookie sacks as a backup. We'd ideally get the high rank version of the Pookie sack, but we keep the low rank as a backup just in case. Double checking our inventory here, we got exactly 2 Anjanath scales. Thank you, Anjanath. And we are good on Ancient Bone, which we just need 1 of, and our Small Monster Bone. So we're good to go.
Did you box all your nets?
Yes. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I need to box all my nets now because of the Yep, thank you. This is a recent change. How was that? Oh, because I don't have flashes. Yep, okay, cool. Recent change because we now use a dung pod on a strategy, which we have in our inventory now. Thank you, Green, for calling that out. Yeah, I don't have honey on me, and I don't have flashes on me, so that's why my inventory looked... Or I don't have honey on me, so that's why my inventory looked like that. Oh, I need that. Yoink. But yeah, so like this is a great place. You can just make all sorts of mistakes because we have at this point probably about 5 minutes, but a total of 7 minutes that we have to wait for this phase to end. So, with that being said, we will have prepared a Monster Hunter trivia section to just kind of introduce people watching, the audience, to some Monster Hunter trivia, some fun facts about the Monster Hunter franchise and the Monster Hunter games. That is in the process of being prepared. I had some written, but I actually decided I wanted to save them for full showcase if we ever do get to it. But that was my intent for this section, was to do a little bit of a trivia question, get a donation, trivia answer, get a donation kind of thing, and then fill the time with that, because we aren't doing anything but standing here managing our inventory. Really not much else that we are doing. But I do take this time to set up my item bar here. It's a nice little, it's just nice to like have this ability in a speed game where you just have like a section that you can just kind of get yourself organized on. I don't know. That's entirely underrated in my opinion. Yeah, look at that. Now I have the item bar set up the way that I want to. But yeah, so this is Zorah Magdaros, so we are just going to be waiting here a little bit longer until the end of the quest. Green, do you want to share your fun fact about the Zorah Magdaros quest and why Zorah Skip doesn't exist?
Oh, yes. So, this quest ends by Zorah reaching the barrier, another monster showing up, and us dealing 200 damage to it. So I asked a modder, hey, could you find where that monster is stored on the map before it appears? I want to see if I can pre-damage him and end the quest. And the modder looked into it and got back to me with, okay, so a few problems. First off, that monster is 8,000 units below the ground. Second, it's behind like 5 layers of projectile protection. And third, every step Zorah takes here in Phase 2 is a flag that has to be met for the quest to end. So unfortunately, there's no real way to shorten Phase 2 of this quest.
Unfortunate. Yeah, so we just, we sit here, we dance, we chit-chat with chat, get up, take a stretch, bathroom break, maybe get a drink, right? I will say this, even though it's kind of unfortunate we have to sit here and wait for a marathon setting, not only does it give us like a little bit of a breather from talking for 50 minutes straight, it is also just really nice in a speedrun an hour in to just have a built-in break. Like I've gotten up, made myself like a dinner or a snack, fed my cat, used the bathroom, I come back, I still have to wait like a minute or two, you know? It is really nice just to like have this in here. And like I said, we're gonna prepare a little bit of a Monster Hunter trivia, a couple of questions to ask the audience and to ask chat, and have people shout out answers and see, who knows their Monster Hunter trivia and who's gonna learn something new today. Which I thought was gonna be a lot of fun. I personally, I personally love talking about this game, so I think that'll be great. Only a couple more seconds, I promise. We are almost there. We're hurtling towards this barrier at the. He is just like a giant turtle, right? So it makes sense that he's a little slow here. He is just like a really big turtle.
I promise the second Zorah fight is more engaging.
The second Zorah fight. Hold on. you let it out of the bag. No one asked why it was called Zorah 1. Spoilers, there's a Zorah 2. Yeah, no, the second Zorah Magdaros fight, though, is a lot more engaging. We have to do a ton during it. It's like a big cycle-based fight. It's actually really, really cool. So we are now transitioning into the end of Phase 2. Where Zorah Magdaros is going to stand up, and we are going to attempt to capture him at this barrier, at this like toothpick barrier that we made. I don't know who thought this was a good idea. The commander's out of his mind. But we're gonna try to stop Zorah Magdaros here, and we're gonna do our best. But we're gonna get third-partied, which is kind of BM, right? Like if you see someone soloing, like if you're playing Fortnite, right, and you see like a 1v1 happening, you don't third-party. That's just BM. That's just bad manners, right? Well, that's going to happen to us here because this next monster has literally 0 chill. But we're going to do a little cool setup on it. This is a little bit of a quick kill, right? Because we do have to fight this monster to repel him. We're going to put these bombs down, and it's going to be right underneath the monster when he spawns. And with SNS, we can do a little cheeky thing where we do a Slinger Burst to end this fight a little bit faster. But here's our third party, or BMer, Nergigante. You may recognize him from the box art. We're just going to dodge his roar. Just like that. Whoops, that's the wrong button. There we go. And got it. We got the goofy face. Let's go. She's doing her best, guys. All right, and so that's the end of the first partial 80% category, Zorah 1, also known as 1 for the history books. But we still have more game to go. And so now we're entering the second half of low rank. And the run really does pick up here, actually. It's really, really cool because we enter this kind of like pseudo boss rush phase of the game where everything that we're going and doing is just fighting another monster. I really like this section. There's some really, really cool tech that's all through here that we get to talk about, and I'm very, very excited about that. But first, we have to go to the Great Ravine. So pretty much what happened story-wise now is that because Nergigante came in and interfered, we weren't able to capture Zorah Magdaros, and so Zorah has escaped our, kind of peripheral now. Like, we're looking for him because he is burrowed underground in the Great Ravine in this massive hole, and he is now in the subterrane of the continent, doing whatever Zorah Magdaros does while it's underground, right? So we are following his trail and trying to find him. So we're going to run through the Great Ravine here, and because of his activity, it's actually opened up a brand new area for us, which is aesthetically one of the cooler areas in the game. But for a lot of the fights, one of the more painful ones, because you have the option of fighting in an area that is too small, fighting in an area that's one giant slope, or fighting in an area that's covered in ledges. So, pick your poison. All of them are not great options. So we're going to slip right through this crevice in the Great Ravine, hugging right on the right side of the hallway here. You can just run up to the trigger a little bit faster. And these cutscenes that we are skipping are introducing us to the Coral Highlands. During that, though, we got knocked out by a monster just kind of flying around us. And these people in the research base found us. They're part of the long-lost Third Fleet. The Third Fleet was sent over, and they lost all contact with them, and that's because they modified their ship to float in the air. Very, very cool stuff. I love the lore building in this game. But the Third Fleet found us, and they rescued us, and so now we have the best hub area in the game unlocked, the research base. Like I said before, Astera is great and all, but everything in Astera is so spread out that it's just really unfortunate because it just takes too long to do anything. And when Iceborne came out, they added a smithy. Oh, bless you. Bless you, Capcom. They added a smithy to the research base, which made going to the research base to do literally anything faster than doing anything in Astera. So we're on another assigned expedition here, and we have to do two things. Spot that Zitzi Yaku. Hello, Zitzi. Goodbye, Zitzi. And unlock a campsite. So now we're just making our way up to that campsite right now. But pretty much this sequence of the game, story-wise, we're looking for Zorah Magdaros. We think we know where he's at, and we're going to go and try and find him. These two areas that we're going to explore, the Coral Highlands, which we're in right now, and then the next area, the Rotten Vale, they're pretty much interconnected. The Highlands are above the Rotten Vale, like geographically speaking. And it's very, very cool. And so we're going to be exploring these areas and learning a little bit more about the ecology of the game, which I think was a really nice touch to this game. They really put a big emphasis on the ecology and environmental effect that you have on nature in this game. Makes you really think. All right, so we've discovered the camp, and we're off back to the research base to go and hunt our first monster, a Paolumu. Green, you want to talk about the Paolumu fight?
Yeah, so this was actually the first non-Elder Dragon that was scripted out with SNS. Because for a long time, we used Switch Axe all the way up until the last 5 fights of the game. but Switch Axe kind of started falling off once we got to this point. So we eventually routed Sword and Shield in here because it's strong, and at this point in the game, Sword and Shield's main weakness is it can't consistently chain Claggers together. But at this point in the game, we have enough tools that we don't need to chain Claggers. We can alternate Claggers with other forms of control, like Pitfall Traps and KOs.
Forgot how to play the game there for a second. Went completely button dumb. So I did that very slowly. So yeah, and something to note too, we did just do a equipment upgrade. We upgraded our weapon using one of those Anjanat scales, and then also we have crafted the bone chest. And this is actually really important. We were talking about might seeds earlier that make us deal more damage. This bone chest is the exact same thing. It has attack boost 1 on it, which gives us 3 true raw, if I remember correctly. And that may not sound like a lot, but it's actually a massive difference in how we get to play and script and rat out this game. Like, without it, some of the scripts are just not possible. Gonna refresh my stamina here and hover over my pitfall traps. Grab another flash bug here. Flashes are king in this game, right? You know, just being able to hard control a monster always feels really, really good.
Shooting this sleep toad so it can't activate in the fight and screw us over, and starting the fight. Starting out with a claw uppercut for a half tenderize, using our slinger arrow to send the monster into a wall for a topple. Nice, and then second claw uppercut gets the full tenderize on the head. Now we can go into our first PR, timing it so that the finisher goes off once the monster is standing to get a Clagger. We've also queued up enough KO damage that we can shield bash combo here and get a KO. PR here being careful to play around the birds, adding extra hit stun. This next Clagger, grabbing it and dropping it is actually the perfect duration for a pitfall trap to go down, and we can throw down our tranks here. We can fit 2 PRs in during this pitfall, and then the second PR will get us a Clagger that we'll use for the second trank bomb and shock trap.
Very good. Very good. So yeah, there's a lot of minutia to this fight, especially with what Green said to the hit stun. Just really paying attention that you don't accidentally hit the birds. We don't often have control of like where Paolumu is going to fall over here, so sometimes we have to change the speed of our PR or how many hits that we actually do because of where the birds are positioned. I played a little risky there, still doing it. But we're A-okay. 2 extra flashes there is fantastic. Love extra flashes. And really, we just want like 1 or 2 extra anyways. But I mentioned earlier we're about to go to, like, this area is kind of uniquely tied to another, and that's the Rotten Vale. And this is our first time exploring the Rotten Vale. And we're going to go and fight a monster called Radabon. Also a very, very cool script. This one's, I mean, we've been going back and forth about how to optimize this one. So like where it's at now is really, really fast. I love it. And then once again, you know, talking about like the cadence of this speed run and like the convenience of routing, man, we sure do have a lot of sleep herbs, but not a lot of parashrooms. Just wait.
So starting the fight off with a flash, similar to Anjanath, he has a very long flash recovery animation, and it puts him perfectly into position for a claw uppercut into a wallbang for our half tenderize. Surprisingly tight clutch claw here to get the bottom of the head. It's not required for the script, but makes it easier and faster. Doing our first PR to get a Clagger. And this is one of the few times Sword and Shield can actually chain Claggers together, because this monster has its Enrage Roar queued up, which gives us just enough time to consistently fit our PR finisher in here. Now a Slinger Burst into an Advancing Slash for the KO, and then a second Slinger Burst into 2 PRs should finish out the quest.
Yeah, that one missed, so I don't know if we're going to be cap ready here. I think I'll also just rush that.
You did.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to extend it and. All right. So only dropping one pod there, I knew I was close, so I just picked it up. I could Slinger Burst to make sure that I could like confirm the trap. But just playing it a little bit safe there, just to make sure we don't burn through resources. I have you don't really have like extra right now, but I do have one extra trap. It's just rerouting for the extra trap tools a little awkward right now, so I'd rather not burn them on a quest like Radavon. This is a very, very consistent fight. But you know, losing 8 seconds there, that's just, you know, that's just occupational hazard. We're doing great right now. This is a fantastic pace, honestly. And so once again, like I said, the convenience of the run, man, we could really use perish rooms. All right, here's 16 of them. I love that. Oh boy, Legiana. This quest is cool. This quest is hard, but this quest is really cool.
Yeah.
So, like you've been seeing throughout this, most of the monsters that we encounter, we're encountering them in a cutscene. However, Legiana's a little bit unique. We're going to watch its cutscene before its quest, actually. So that means it doesn't have a cutscene in its quest. Instead, Legiana is on a cycle where it's traveling from the top of the map down to another area. And so we are now on a cycle to meeting it, which means we can do a couple of things. We can gather items. We can buff ourselves with a meal at the canteen, which we haven't done yet. And we can do a little bit of a setup on it while it's landing to start our opener and our script. Quick little restock here, grabbing 2 trap tools and then one of the pitfall traps we made back on Zorah 1. That's just a little convenience routing because it ends up working out to be 3 items that we restock here instead of just 2. Eating here and then grabbing some stuff out of the supply box. Flashes and knives, and then Green, I'm gonna let you talk about the rest.
Yeah, so like Bagel said, Legiana is on a cycle here. So we are on a bit of a timer, but it's not too hard. The game does give us poison knives, which is very helpful here. We want to keep 2 in our slinger. 1 to get some small monsters to run away before we start the fight, and the second will be used to poison Legiana before the fight actually even starts. All this gathering loses no time right now, because again, we are on a cycle, which is very nice. And then we are going to be, since Legiana's on a cycle and coming down, we can actually do quite a bit of setup beforehand. So we're going to place this barrel bomb against the wall it'll be facing when it lands. And we have a guaranteed wallbang into its setup, because Legiana's AI is locked until it actually lands on the ground.
Okay, we're on a good cycle.
So shooting 1 poison knife into these Kelly to get them to run away, and having only 1 poison knife in our slinger lets us skip on equipping it for the wallbang. So now we're back to our red pit, which we can use to wallbang, get our topple, equip the flash pods the game gave us, and do 1 partial PR, dodging out into a back hop, and this is going to be one of 2 mounts we get in the run, which forces the monster into the air. We instantly drop off and flash it to get a topple, which is just long enough for another PR. Into a Clagger.
Oh, thank you, Blast Proc. I wasn't getting that if that wasn't a Blast Proc.
Claw Uppercut to reset the Clagger and get a half Tenderize off. And now an Enrage Roar followed by a Head Flail is queued up, so we can fit in a full PR here. Ooh, actually, even better. Another Claw Uppercut to reset the Clagger and get full Tenderize, getting a KO. Pre-trank during the KO. Getting another Clagger.
I'm a coward. That might be a problem. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I'm on a higher frame rate, so actually the traps go down faster. They become effective faster. which is really, really weird. So I was trying to, like, wait it out so he was going to turn his body back so it was closer to me. That's okay. Yeah, higher frame rates do result in that. We do have one extra trap there, and this just means I have to restock before the Rathalos fight, which I normally wouldn't do. Yeah. But that's okay. That's fine. That's okay. That's fine. Still went for it. I just needed to wait a little bit longer for him to kind of turn back. Odegarin. Odegarin's a cool fight. We're going to be able to grab more Might Seed items here. And this fight is, I mean, it's kind of scripted out. I'm just really bad at the script. So I usually just kind of go into it with a specific strategy. But it is a very neat fight. It's just also, like, a cool monster. Ooh, what's happening? A little weird frame droppy on my end. Yo, welcome on in, Malicious. Yeah, for anyone that is joining too, we're doing a commentary speedrun for SGDQ submission, so feel free to hang out, ask questions as they come up. More than happy to talk about this game and what makes it tick. So a lot of extra gathering here, and we're going to pre-buff ourselves with the Demon Powder, like I said, these last 3 minutes. And we're just kind of trying to use our items in strategic locations that they don't lose us any time. So we're using them when we're jumping off of ledges or going over slopes and stuff like that. Things that can kind of interrupt our animation, but we can still use the item during it. Ooh, almost got hit there. We're good. So another instance of using stealth at the beginning of this, we're going to use it to set up a wall bang. I think. I hope we don't see a hole. We shouldn't see a hole in one on this angle.
So wall bang into a PR, and those 3 hits we had to do to turn him anyway also gives us a half tenderize on the head. 2 PRs here. Into
Nice.
a clagger, nice.
I don't know how I hit that, but I
tenderizing
did.
here will get us the tenderize on the head and drop a piercing pod, which is very powerful slinger ammo. Good big flinch into a partial PR. Into what's called a faux topple. The AI he does after this is basically the same every time, which lets us fit in another partial PR.
Ooh, ow. I got caught in his legs. I got hit by that.
And now 1 or 2 slinger bursts on the head should get us into the clagger. Perfect. Then we can grab this and go for another PR. And that first pod on the ground means we can safely pre-tread now.
Ow. All right, little scuff there towards the end, but still very, very good. Just a difficult fight to kind of keep control of because he likes to move around a ton, and we don't have perfect ways of keeping him locked down because we are using Slinger Bursts on a relatively small monster. So where the damage goes is a little funky, but yeah, definitely a successful strategy to say. All right. Green, it's time.
Yep. So, Rathalos. This is going to be another assigned expedition. We're going to have to go all the way up to the top of the ancient forest to spot a Rathalos, and the game is going to tell us to hunt it. But unfortunately, the game is scripted, so as soon as the Rathalos cutscene ends, it puts you like 100 feet away from it, and by the time you get back to his nest, he's flown away and gone on a world tour of the map. So for a long time, the strategy here was just leave the expedition, post the assigned quest it gives you, and deal with it. We don't have to do that anymore. We are going to use a well-placed pitfall trap in addition to some AI abuse to keep the Rathalos here and fight it in the expedition.
Hey, did you know you could do this? Show of hands, if you didn't know you could ride the wing drake to the top of the ancient forest map, you know, raise your hand now. But yeah, this is always really funny. This is always a moment where people go like, "Excuse me, I have X hundred hours in this game and did not know you could do that." Let's make sure we grab some very specific items here to set ourselves up. Yeah, Green, you go ahead. You can describe this. You know this better than I do.
Yeah. This is also actually going to be the only known clip through a wall in this game that we have. So here we're at the Rathalos nest, actually coming at it from the other side than where it's intended, because it lets us get closer to the cutscene trigger and place this pitfall trap down. And then mashing through this dialogue, the Rathalos has actually already fallen into the pitfall trap, which is going to delay him leaving just enough for us to get back up there. We are going to shoot a red pit at a very specific vine that's blocked off from him, so he'll just keep running into this wall trying to reach it. That should still work.
No, it does.
Yeah. And now his face is clipping through the wall, so we can clutch onto it to clip through and set up a wall bang. Now putting on our ghillie mantle, this is just so we're going to be able to lure him over to this dam, just to get him into a bit better position. Putting a dung pod to lure. Once he gets up, he'll run over to the center of the dam. And now we can hop off, eat a might seed, and cancel our fall stun by doing an attack. And now we can fit 5 PRs in during this waterfall topple. Now the scary part about this area is what's called a transition zone. It's not a proper area where monsters are meant to fight. So if Rathalos is ever not in some form of CC, he's going to try to leave. So it's very important that we either keep him locked down in claggers or topples, or keep him blinded with a flash pod. So 5th PR, we do the finisher, get a clagger, grab it with a claw uppercut to get our full tenderize off. And then if... Ooh, guard slash. Get a KO. Another PR into a clagger.
Surely I can cap.
Maybe.
Well, I hope so, because I'm going for it.
And you can see there, that little run, he was getting ready to book it out of here. Nice.
Easy.
And now we can just return from Expedition with no end timer.
Probably one of the harder things to do cleanly. When he's on the ground at the bottom of that area after the waterfall, the positioning is a little weird. You can get caught on his feet, you can get pushed around a lot, so it's very position-based. You have to be very, very careful there.
Diablos.
Diablos. I actually really like this hunt, but it's very, very variable. Very, very variable. This fight doesn't have a script per se, but it definitely has a strategy that works really, really well. The only reason we say it doesn't have a script is because it's dependent on what the monster does after your PR, or before your PR, I should say. So we can lock this monster pretty well, but the opener is dependent on AI. At least doing the opener quickly is dependent on AI. And then as we're doing our finisher, the monster gets to move. So depending on what he does, will change what we have to do next. I guess you'll just kind of see as we do it. Okay, so instantly bad AI. But we can Sonic Bomb that, tenderize, and then Claw Uppercut to get our full tenderize off. I don't get hit by this, and then if I just get a really lucky blast proc, come on, Gamba! Come on, good Gamba. Come on, we got good AI. Oh, thank you. Okay, cool. So we can do the lock now. I was getting a little button scared there. Green, you can, if you want to like add a little bit more to what we're doing and why it's this variable.
Yeah. So
good.
One quick thing to note, that red pot on the ground is not an HP drop, so he has to keep that in mind as he's fighting. But the thing that really makes this variable is how Diablos moves. You can see he has the chance to move a bit before our final finisher hit goes off. And the way the finisher works, it doesn't just deal damage to the part you're attached to, it's still just a hitbox attached to you. So if the monster moves in a weird way, the finisher will actually clip his chest instead of his leg, and he won't get a topple.
I accidentally rushed that one, so I didn't get the lock. Uh-oh. You know, I'm a god.
That was the greediest thing I've ever seen.
But it worked, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and the best follow-up to that possible. And the worst positioning possible.
Yeah,
all right, we can still get a clacker
This is
here,
one of the only fights where we're not actually scripting our damage to know when it's cap ready. So Bagel is looking for either a pod on the ground or its heart rate monitor in the bottom left, because this monster is actually a bit finicky about dropping pods at the right HP.
Why are you on top of this? All right, there's first pod.
Yeah, so this is a very safe cap now. Actually doing our PR on the tail, because the tail and stomach do actually take more damage than the leg. You just can't lock him with them, unfortunately.
Yeah, about 20 seconds slow. That's okay. Whee. Yeah, it can be a little monk-ass, little monk-steer. I rushed one PR there, unfortunately, but it's just really easy to do, like, itty-bitty mistakes like that, but it's okay. All right, so that was that monster rush that I was talking about, right? Our little like mid-game monster rush. Always love that. It's a great little just like intense section of the game, and it's probably the most fun section of the game too. But we are now leading into our second Zorah Magdaros fight. So pretty much what's been happening is we don't know where Zorah is. We're trying to find him. We've learned a lot about the Rotten Vale though. And the kind of relationship between the Vale and the Coral Highlands. The Vale is where monsters go to die, and the nutrients are released up into the Highlands. That's why one looks the one way and one looks the other, right? And because we found Zorah Magdaros tracks in the Vale, we have concluded that Zorah Magdaros is trying to get to the Vale, right? But he diverged a little bit, and he started going a different direction, and the Ancient Wyverians have told us, you know, a little bit about that. So now we kind of understand what Zorah Magdaros is trying to do. It's trying to get to an area called the Everstream, which is where like the flow of like, you know, energy is in this area where the, you know, life essence of the area is. I don't know. It's really esoteric. Regardless, all we know is that if Zorah Magdaros gets into the Everstream and releases its energy, it destroys the entire New World. So it's relevant for us to stop him. If he reaches the Everstream, the New World just like catches on fire. It's too much energy. It can't handle it. So we are trying to stop that by either capturing him or repelling him. And so we're going to do that here in the Zorah Magdaros 2 fight. So you can see there are stalagmites and stalactites, and they are rigged with explosives. We'll be able to drop those by hitting them with slinger ammo, and they will fall onto the monster and deal a ton of damage. That also makes the monster stagger, and it can interrupt some animations as well. There's some scripted times and unscripted times to do that, and so we'll be doing it kind of on a cycle basis, right? The thing about this quest is that unlike the first Zorah Magdaros quest, where there is an HP gate, but it's only like 200 HP. This one has a much larger HP gate, and it's a couple thousand HP. So we will be dealing damage to the monster. This is a magma core. Do not listen to the game. Do not break the magma cores. We're going to be attacking the magma cores, doing PRs at them in very specific ways. We want to do only so many PRs so we don't break them. Breaking a magma core just means that, you know, Zorah Magdaros stops moving, and it takes a lot longer for the quest to progress. So I'm starting with doing 4. Please remind me that I did 4 green. Because I usually only do 3 there, but it's a little bit better to do 4, a little bit faster to do 4. We only want to do 7 on the first core. But we're moving up to the second core now, and we just have to climb up all the way to the top of Zorah Magdaros. Hope we don't get trolled by fireballs, because that does happen. And so we're just waiting for a dialogue, like a voice line here, to tell us it's in its next animation, so we can drop these 2 stalactites. There's one behind us, and our hitbox is overlapping it right now, so we can just hit it from behind, roll off this, and attack straight down. I'm surprised they didn't hit me. Here we want to do 5 PRs. To try to fit in my 3rd one before the next explosion. I'm hoping for a big explosion. Didn't get it. And I back hop directly into that. Yippee. All right, let's just do 1 more. Or 2 more. The cores and how they explode is random. There are 2 patterns for a small explosion, and then there is 1 pattern for a big explosion. The big explosion just happened. It takes a little bit longer for the big explosion to happen, but there's no safe spot around it. So we either have to guard the damage, armor through the damage, or stand somewhere else to avoid the damage. But the small explosions you can usually position yourself around, but that middle core just has some funky hitboxes. So this next animation that we're going to cancel, we're going to use this big stalagmite to do so. Zorah Magdaros is preparing a very large explosion, and we want to stop that. If he does erupt, not only does he shoot more lava, you know, just out of the top of himself, he also, like, the cores explode more often and deal more damage. We don't want that to happen. It makes just damaging him a lot more difficult, and it makes it a lot riskier, because even though we're using the Guardian armor, which is kind of like this safety armor that's built into the game, high defenses, it has Divine Blessing and health boost, so we take damage less often, and also just have more health. It's still very possible to faint with this gear, because, you know, we're speedrunners, we're greedy. I'm switching my FPS here down to 60 FPS. We're going to be trying to use an out-of-bounds warp to warp to the left side of the barrier for Phase 2. If we just let the monster transition normally and go into Phase 2, it'll put us on the right side of the barrier, where we're going to try to fall out of bounds, so we go to the left side just a little bit faster, we can set up damage faster, just all around better for what we're trying to do. All right, there we go. Dropping these stalactites. Right now, while Zorah Magdaros is animation locked, he's going to take the damage, but he's not going to, like, flinch. He's already stopped moving here because the NPCs are about to shoot a ballista binder. And I'm setting myself up to set down 2 bombs because guess who's back? Nergy's back. But this time we actually have to fight him a little bit. This time around, we are going to try to break one of his horns to get some early research points to make up a gap in research points that we'll have. It's going to save like over a minute if we can do this. So, and this is a pretty consistent strategy. 2 bombs down, blow him up with a rock, makes Nergy flinch. We can clutch claw on, tap him once, and wallbang. Then we're just going to jump right back on and tenderize the head to drop a powerful slinger ammo. This is going to drop a thorn pod. And just like Green said earlier, thorn pods deal damage to the part. That's also part break damage and also KO damage. They're just really good. Boom, there's our horn break. And you know what? We are video gamers. We're going to go for our second horn break. We're going to gamer mode this and go for a second. Oh, no disrespect. Okay, Zorah got the horn break. What a real homie. A little bit of clack on him. A little bit of disrespect. Can we? On, if I can just press buttons correctly. Ow! He hit me. Help.
Are you dead?
Bye.
Oh my
no.
God.
Why can't I pop? Oh, my weapon's out. That's
because
why
your weapon's out.
What? I don't think I've ever tried that. All right, well, Zorah was the gamer, and still our glory. Whatever, that's fine. Everyone say hi to Rock Friend. For some reason, when Zorah Magdaros is standing up, which is what he's doing right now, I know it's hard to tell. But when Zorah Magdaros is standing up, for some reason, this rock does not break. This is a breakable part on Zorah Magdaros. And normally, it would have already broken. But for some reason... Oh, this is fine. For some reason, it just won't break. And we take advantage of that. I'm going to get back in my little hole there. There we go. Just to deal some extra unintended damage. This is all damage that Zorah is still taking, too. Oh, whoops. I wanted to do that. One jump. Oh, well. But the rock just doesn't break. So it's just a little extra unintended damage. Shout out to GJG98 for finding that. And then we are back to the middle core. Yep, 3. There's 1. There's 2. I'm just gonna wait for the second explosion. Please. Thank you. And he gave us a good one. Alright, and then now we can go to the last core. And so the last core is where we're going to do our little bit of an out-of-bounds warp. Zorah Magdaros stands up, this hole closes, and so we can stand kind of close to the end of this room, and it puts us out of bounds, air quotes out of bounds, a little bit earlier than the transition warp would activate.
Yep, and that is why he changed his FPS down to 60 earlier.
Forgot to finish that explanation.
Yeah, this warp just doesn't really work that well on 144.
Yeah, you can get it, but it's more positioning based, and just for some reason, it's just harder to do.
Yeah, and FPS only really saves time in mashing segments anyway, and we have time to change it back at the end of this quest.
Nifty little claw uppercut for some hyper armor there, so I can already be in position. I'm hoping that's good timing, because sometimes you can get a core explosion as this transition is happening, and you get hit out of this positioning. There we go. Cool. So we're on the left side of the barrier. So right before the end of this quest, we will switch back to 144 FPS. We'll have like just enough time to do it. The great thing is we'll know when the quest is ending by a voice line. And so while we are waiting for Zorah Magdaros here, we're going to be filling up these cannons. There is one condition left to completing this quest, and it is the barrier health appearing under the quest objectives. You can't really see it because my camera's blocking it. So we want Zorah to progress here as fast as possible, but if we shoot these cannons early, Zorah doesn't get flinched for some reason. Who knows? There's absolutely a flinch queued up. Who knows? It just doesn't. And so we just shoot those cannons, and he still progresses forward. And once he gets to the barrier, we're going to use our Dragonator, which is a really big spear object attached to the side of the boat. And it shoots into Zorah Magdaros, does a ton of damage. It's literally a weapon designed for Elder Dragons. Very cool weapon, too. Shoutouts to the Dragonator. So we filled our cannon back up. The barrier health is about to appear. 1, 2. We're going to send the Dragonator into the side of them, shoot our cannons here, and wait for our audio line. There it is. Switch back to 144, just double check I have everything crafted. Yep, we're good. And we are going on to our next quest. If this quest will ever end. Smile. Yay, yippee. Make sure we take rewards here, because this is our next weapon upgrade. We get 1 commendation out of it. We're guaranteed to get 1 commendation here, but there is a 1% RNG chance that we get 2. So 1 in 100 chance that we get 2, and it does save time if we get 2. Unfortunately, we only got 1. But, you know, it's that's not reasonable. So we're going to switch back to Switch Axe here for our next 2 fights. And it's not for the next fight, it's for the one after that. But we have now entered the high rank portion of the game. So we mentioned earlier that the game was going to make us start interacting with track gathering, right? We need to start gaining research points on monsters to progress the game. And this was the way that most people view this game is that low rank is the tutorial and high rank is the real game. And that's a very reasonable thing to kind of assume out of the game, because now, you'll notice we'll do half as many quests to finish out high rank, and it's because the game kind of anticipates you to go out and hunt and slow your own progression down and go and farm some equipment and materials and then progress with the game. And so they made this section of the game to kind of like give you something else to do while you're out doing something else. Instead, we're going to hyper focus that section of the game, finish it as fast as possible, and then move into the, next difficulty level of the game as fast as we can. But these are monster tracks, and we'll pick them up and we'll get some research for them. And we'll talk a little bit more about them after this quest. But I just shot that Spore Puff there to lure our next monster over. There's a high rank Pookie Pookie. He's back. And then I'll just let Green talk about the rest of this.
Yeah, so starting this one out with a wall bang. Similar to the low rank Pookie fight, just attacking it during the wall bang to get our gauge and then ZSDing through the roar. But this one we are actually intentionally not going to do the full ZSD because we want to get this flinch early to queue up some AI. Yeah, there we go. That little look. He's going to just give us an opening for another ZSD that we wouldn't normally have. Gets us a Clagger, which we can grab to do another ZSD. And now an interesting trick here is putting on this Ghillie Mantle to go into Stealth AI, so that when we grab him, he's going to jump back and roar, which gives us another ZSD opening. And there's first pot on the ground, which we can pick up to Slinger Burst with and pre-cap. Being very careful to avoid the tail, because piercing pods will cut it very quickly, and a tail cut has priority over a trap.
Good.
Nice.
Otter, thank you so much for the 8 months of tier 1. All right, so that's our first high rank mission, and yay, we got our high rank Pookie Pookie sack. So our cat gets a weapon for the last hunt of the game. So now we're entering track gathering, and something to note about track gathering is traditionally, at default, tracks spawn in 3 patterns for each monster. There are 4 monsters that we have to gather tracks for, *5 if you include Nergigante, but we can do that in one gathering session. So there's 4 monsters. Where am I going? There are 3 patterns total for a total of 12 patterns that we would have to memorize, right? And traditionally, we have done this. However, as we've gotten better and better at this game and faster at this game, we have now come to a problem where you can have a really good speedrun all the way up to Pookie Pookie, get to this section, and then lose 2 minutes because of RNG. And for the longest time, we just kind of dealt with that because we didn't know that there was a solution, but now we have a solution. We have given ourselves the ability to choose which track patterns we want depending on our route. So we do have a mod to do this that makes these track gathering patterns static now. So now everyone's on the same playing field. I can use the exact same one that Green uses, and I don't get to complain about a 2-minute time loss halfway through my run. There was a time about like a year ago where I had world record and Green had second place, and we were separated by like half of a second. And I had the worst possible track patterns, and he had the best possible track patterns, and the difference was a half a second. So, yeah, just that's why we got rid of it, because we just wanted to put everyone on the same playing field. Doesn't stop the necessity to know what the pattern is, and it really just, makes the playing field a lot nicer. Anything else you want to talk about there? I forgot to craft the dang extra trap again, dude. I do that every time. I'm just gonna craft it right here. That loses a little bit of time, but it's if I don't craft it, I don't have a backup for these next 2 fights, and I want a backup for the next 2 fights.
Yeah.
So we're doing this a little like out of order, where we're gonna go and talk to the researcher first. We need at least 160 research points to unlock the next quest, and that's only about half. That is only half of the gathering that we need to do. for these tracks. So we are coming back to the Wildspire to gather another 160 points to finish out the track gathering for the question mark Rathian investigation. But we are now able to launch the assigned mission from this expedition. Very, very neat little thing that you can do, right? It also saves time in the loaded animation, which is kind of cool. And then also just makes this movement a little bit cleaner. Really, really, really neat routing that Green came up with. Very cool stuff. Anything else to talk about before we go into the next hunt? Am I missing anything?
I don't think so.
All right, cool. We have 2 more hunts until we do more track gathering. So this is not the only section that can lose up to 2 minutes. This one's variance is like, what, like 40 seconds between the slowest and fastest patterns, which is something that we just don't have. Yeah, so about 40 seconds, but we don't have to worry about that anymore. So the mod has just, blessed us by not losing 40 seconds here. Thank you, mod. Fast traveling back to the Area 1 camp. We got... I actually don't like this positioning for Handler because I always mess up talking to her. I lost 0.8 of a second. Suboptimal track gathering. Honestly, it's time to reset, guys. I'm so sorry, but we're going to run this back. We're not going to hit estimate. All right, so grabbing some stone there and putting on a ghillie mantle. We want to start this quest with stealth. This is the quest that Green was kind of alluding to earlier in the run when we were talking about the stealth tutorial. We got good AI. We got good spawn location. So I'm going to let Green talk about the rest of this as I focus.
Yep. So the most important thing is having that purple map. That means the AI will work out, luring him over with a pod and getting into this pitfall. So now what's going to happen here, this monster is normally very hard to chain Cliers on just because of how he moves afterwards. But as long as he's in stealth AI, after every single flagger, he is going to back up, leave stealth AI, and roar. That backup gives us enough time to consistently chain Cliers together without him ever leaving stealth AI. So you see, back up, still in stealth. And we just keep doing that.
Oh no. I'm in the scary area. Thank you, game. I'm gonna extend this. So I'm scared.
Now a second pitfall because our amp state did run out, so we can't DSD anymore until we do some normal sword mode damage. And now we're going to lose the stealth AI. Actually, no, we're not. I didn't realize you didn't get the flash flow yet.
A little bit of an annoying miss right there, but that's a-okay. That was a really weird one. That was a stealth, like that was a stealth unengage because my map went white, but then he just neutraled back to the area.
Yeah.
Bro forgot about me. That's okay. That's still a really good Anjanath fight. All right, cool. Next one. Next one is high rank Pink Rathian. This is our last capture of the game. And this is the thing that we were just gathering all those research points for, like gathering all the feet prints and gashes and stuff. It was for this monster. So we are going to be switching off of Switch Axe here. Switching off of Switch Axe. and back to SNS. And so really we're using Switch Axe here for that high rank Anjanath fight. It's just not there's not like comfortable enough routing to do SNS for the Pookie and then switching to Switch Axe for the Anjanath. And the Switch Axe script, or excuse me, the SNS script for the Anjanath fight is just impossible. Like it's very, very difficult in comparison.
Yeah, it nets 10 seconds if you do it perfectly, but if you place a trap slightly wrong, it falls apart.
Yeah, so it's just not worth doing. Green, I'm gonna let you talk about this and lock in.
Yep. So this fight starts immediately after the cutscene.
Oh, great. My second missed. Just complete this.
Yep, putting on the ghillie for stealth for 2 reasons. One is to lure her over for a first wallbang, and second is it will give us an extra roar after this first wallbang to help us set up our second wallbang. So a single hit to turn her, still in stealth AI, and landing us right on top of this second slinger. Then clutching to the head to tenderize. This gets us halfway to a tenderize. And then positioning so she hops away from us at a specific angle. And then claw uppercut, which has super armor, through this roar, gets us our full tenderize and latches us on for a second wallbang. And we can do a PR during this topple. Head break is what we're looking for. Now dodging this second roar. And pick up this bomb pod as we run past. And we actually run off this ledge with a flash pod equipped. Because she's going to chase us down.
She didn't do it. Okay. We could do that flash blind, but I got hung up on her head, and so she got to do an attack there. And, of course, guard slash got me. All right. I just need to get a clagger, and we'll be good. All right, we're good.
Grabbing this clagger lets us put down a pitfall trap safely. And we should be able to fit 3 in here as long as the flash flail didn't get eaten.
It didn't. Of course I got the annoying side. Ooh, it's very close.
And now she is very close to cap ready, if not already cap ready. Yep, beautiful.
Nice. So yeah, just missing that clagger was unfortunate, but that's a-okay. We had 2 extra Thunderbugs this route because I grabbed 1 extra, and we got good material RNG. So we only had to use 1 extra. That's actually really, really good. A great solid section of that run. We are now entering the true end game, right? So what we were talking about incentives earlier too, this is when those are going to happen, is after this Elder Tracks gathering segment, during and after. I remember how to do this. Yay, I did it actually optimally. Yippee. So we have to gather now Elder Tracks for all of the Elder Dragons. We're starting with Nergigante Elder Tracks. I mentioned that there are 4 monsters with 3 patterns each. Nergigante is one of the monsters we have to gather for, but the first time that we visit the Elder's Recess here, we are always getting the same track pattern. And then with breaking the horn on Zorah 2, we have enough research points now that we only have to do this track gathering. We don't have to come back here and do a second set. Story-wise too, Zorah Magdaros running away, it gave us time to investigate that area, the Everstream, a little bit more. And so we have found this little secluded section to go and investigate. And we believe this is where Zorah Magdaros was trying to get to. Really quick, we're skipping another one of those NPC walking sections. This is Admiral Skip. Like 3 or 4 years ago, I said this wasn't possible. I was wrong. And we just couldn't reproduce it, and no one else really tried until, what was it, like Johnny and Ellie like looked at it again, right? And they like figured out how to do it.
No, they'd been doing it for years, and we just never looked at one of their runs.
Well, why wouldn't they tell us?
They did. We just never looked.
I can't believe that. Anyways, we've been sabotaged until recently, and so now now everyone does Admiral Skip. So pretty much we found out why Zorah Magdaros was in the Everstream. It was to get to this area, and we were thinking like, okay, maybe it was trying to get here because of Nergigante. Like every single time that we saw Zorah Magdaros, Nergigante was there too, and it looks like Nergi's like trying to feed on it. This is really weird. So anyways, we want to find Nergigante. But to do that, we have to do some gathering in this section first and spot some monsters, and this has some really cool movement that I'm gonna let Green talk about.
Yeah. So, Wiggly Litchy.
What? You don't grab that?
No, you don't need it.
But I always grab it.
This is like a second.
But the bug.
Okay, so this first monster that we need to sight, immediately after his cutscene, he's going to roar. But we're actually right on the edge of its radius, so as long as we move backwards at all, we can just completely ignore it.
Yippee.
And picking up a rock here for the next monster. Technically, not using a rock here is optimal, but this way only loses like 2 seconds, and we found it before the ghillie way. And it's a lot funnier.
Yeah, so this is the Dota Gamma Bully Dota Gamma bid war incentive. We're gonna pick up this rock, and if the bid war wins, we're gonna drop this rock on him. So that's what we'll end up showing off. We'll bully the boy. It'll be a bid war between saving him or doing that to him. So come day of run, you guys that are upset about that will have to donate to stop it. Or are you seeing Conrad? It's the last monster here. This the cutscene triggers will warp us around, and so we just enter it from that side to get warped to this side instead. And we're not really worried about the monster trying to interact with us, because after we gather this, we are just going to return to Astera. And so Lavazioth cannot bother us.
And now that we're in Astera, we can talk to a bunch of NPCs and unlock Nergigante, right?
Wrong. That's the way the game wants you to do it. So we've gathered the investigation for Nergigante, but like I mentioned before, we have 3 other Elder Dragons that we have to gather tracks for. We're gonna kind of do it out of order, and it does end up like saving some time just between like movement, routing, and like fast travels and stuff like that. But we're gonna go to the Ancient Forest, the Wildspire Waste, and the Rotten Vale to gather Elder Dragon tracks, the last 3 Elder Dragons. And like I mentioned before, historically these have been on patterns, but recently we have now modded that out. And so we know what pattern we're going to be on when we start, which is really nice. And then also we just don't lose time for no reason, which is, it's great. It's a great feature of the game. But we are gathering tracks for Kushala Daora right now, which will be the first monster that we fight in our kind of Elder Dragon rush. And what was I going to say? There's something else I was going to say. But yeah, so the game expects us to go and fight Nergigante first, and then the NPCs ask us to do this after we fight Nergigante. But we're doing it a little bit out of order. So after we fight Nergi, this is going to look a little weird. And after we do this, it's going to be our next donation incentive, like showcase incentive, which is the Hog and a Frog showcase. So once we're done with the track gathering here, we're going to show off Hog and a Frog. So if that gets met during the run, I figured that's something that we could show off. And I mean, it's very, very cute. Like, who doesn't love an adorable frog, or excuse me, an adorable hog in a really cute frog costume? And then, I guess when we'll get there, I'll remind everyone again, but there is a speedrun category for that. It is 12 minutes long, and it's really, really fun to do. It's fun to, like, try to do it optimally. And, it's just a great little palate cleanser. Shout outs to Crouch Cancel. And on to the next area. And so the biggest variance between the Elder Dragon tracks that we got rid of was this quest right here. This one had the largest difference between good tracks and bad tracks. And it's great that we just don't have to worry about that anymore. You know, because you end up getting bad tracks and you just lose. Like, it's like another, like, 40 seconds to that one, too, isn't it?
Kushala and Teo were both 40 seconds.
Yeah, they're both 40 seconds. It always felt like Kushala's was so much longer, though, because you had to go all the way up into the tree.
No, that's actually the middle pattern. That's not even the slowest one.
Which one was the slowest one? I guess the one,
the one with all the gashes.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, that one, you still go up into the tree for that one.
Nope.
No, you didn't.
It.
Yeah, we did reroute that. Shows what I remember. If there's also time, we'll probably fill each one of these sections with a Monster Hunter trivia as well. Because there's, you know, not too much to talk about during these. So we'll definitely help fill that air. Or we just keep yapping about Monster Hunter. Love yapping about this game. Something that we are very good at doing. And honestly, the community is just in full swing right now with Monster Hunter Wilds just coming out. Everyone's feral for Monster Hunter right now, and it's incredible, and I love it. Making sure we do not ride the Apsaros. There's a track between that little herd of Apsaros, and sometimes if you get too close to the Apsaros, the button to pick up the trap is the same button to ride an Apsaros. Why would everyone want to do that?
Yup. Good there?
Inputs are hard.
So these end screens between the expeditions is actually where all the time save comes from doing it early, because we don't actually have the research investigations unlocked for these monsters yet. The progress bar doesn't show up during those transition screens.
I didn't even think about that.
That is the only reason this saves time.
That's actually really funny. It does mean you do need to know, like, if you've picked up all of the tracks. So there is a way to, like, check out in the world too, but I've done this so often, like, so many times over so many years, and I still miss tracks sometimes now, and now there's only 4 patterns to memorize and not 12, and I still miss them, but yeah, still some optimization, definitely ways to kind of throw here, which is funny. Because you won't know, too, until it's too late. Ooh, fun jump. Yay. That's to ledges on flat ground.
Yup.
Why is there a ledge there? Nobody knows. Alright, you guys ready for a hog and a frog? I'm ready for a hog and a frog. Wrong button. Man, playing speedrunning Wilds and then speedrunning this is very difficult. It's like most of the buttons do the exact opposite of each other in each of those games, and it's kind of funny. All right, we're gonna showcase Hog and a Frog here really quick. So here is Poogie. We want Poogie to be our friend, so we have to give him a really good pet. We just gave him the best pet ever. Now we get to pick him up and walk him around Astera. And so while I'm walking around here, my controller is vibrating, and that's pretty much telling me that if I put Poogie down, he's gonna find a special item in that area. But I want him to find one very specific one. It's over here in the research area. We're gonna put him down right here next to this lantern. I put him down a little too close. That backup loses time. But he's gonna dig up a very important item here. It's the Hog and a Frog costume. And so now we can change clothes. Hog and a Frog. Yippee! Look at that Hog and that Frog. So this is the whole speedrun category. This is a whole speedrun category just to put him in this. But absolute creature. And he's going to be in that for the rest of the run too, which is great. Anyways, that's Hog and a Frog. And I am like, all right, I just want you guys to know that if this run gets in, we need to do that. Like, I'm just saying, it's got to be in there because Hog and a Frog is absolutely blessed. And what's even funnier is Monster Hunter Wilds Any% has an incentive called Frog on a Hog, also something very funny. So, Monster Hunter games are peak because they have hogs and frogs. I'm just saying. Second to last upgrade here, and I'm going to make the Palico his weapon now. You get a little poison weapon. And we're going to go and now start our Elder Dragon Rush. Do not pay attention to that time loss. It's not real. We had to do Hog and a Frog.
True.
Actually, that's great. I mean, I don't know how long Hog and a Frog takes. I figured 3 minutes to show it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. That's fine. All right. Yeah, there's no time losses when we're talking about Poogie. Nergigante. So, something to know about all of the Elder Dragons. Why do I have an extra Might Seed? What did I forget to use a Might Seed on? I have an extra Might Seed. Great. I forgot to use one somewhere. Great. Fantastic. I'll have to figure that one out. Green, I'm going to let you talk about Elder Auras and how we take advantage of them.
All right. So, Nergigante has this very neat mechanic where if you damage a part enough, he starts growing white spikes there.
I do that every time. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh! Now we're good. You can talk.
Okay. So once we deal enough damage to primarily his head, it'll naturally happen to some other parts as well. He will grow white spikes. And as long as we break those white spikes, he'll topple. However, if we go too long without breaking them, they will harden into black spikes, and then everything's a nightmare. But this fight is going to revolve around alternating spike topples with claggers. So right now, just to get some earlier damage in, we've done 2 wall bangs, the second one with Thorn Pod. So he's actually 1 KO hit away from 1 blunt hit away from a KO right now. Carefully delaying the attack here to get another clagger. Good. And then grabbing this clagger to get the second horn break. And just a bit of extra damage. And now, since he's enraged, he'll follow us wherever, so we can go down to this second area that has 2 environmental traps. Each of them will do 5% health and give us a topple, which is huge.
Great. Oh my gosh.
So there's our topple. We are actually intentionally going to over damage these white spikes because we want them to break early, only on this topple. That gets us a clagger and does enough damage to the head for him to grow white spikes again. So white spikes grow as we do our next finisher to get us that topple. And that just plain flinch will eventually happen at some point in the fight. We've scripted around it so we can do this second rock drop to get our lock back. Black spikes on both arms is a bit unfortunate. It makes damaging on claggers a lot tighter. Since we can't rush our PR1s anymore, since it will bounce off the black spikes.
Nice. All right, cool. We got through that. Oh my gosh. So the opener was the only thing that was really, really bad there. When he does that rush forward attack, when somebody grabbed the crystal burst early, that rush forward attack is the only piece of AI we do not want to see first because it makes doing the opener a lot harder. And then I forgot that you cannot fit the wall bang in immediately after on a head I call it a headbang. I don't know, like it's his like headbutt attack. So that was entirely a skill issue on my part, and that's a-okay. It happens. We got through it, and that's all that matters. But that is our first first Elder Dragon fight.
Yeah, and you may notice we did not capture him. Elder Dragons cannot be captured because they're immune to traps.
Lore or something. Which is why we also can't capture Zorah Magdaros. Doesn't the commander know anything? Oh my gosh. It's so embarrassing for him. Yeah, that little weird tremor was a little goofy. It's also really funny though. I thought it made the fight a little bit cooler because I was on like health the entire time.
Do not sell.
I know. So, we did another recording of this, and I accidentally sold here, and I had to use a backup file to to finish the run. But it's okay. I didn't sell. Nergigante has our last upgrade material that we're gonna need, so I absolutely accidentally sold on our last marathon recording. That was pretty funny. But I will be, we do have save states and backup files just to at least have a good showcase. So I will absolutely be bringing those just to make sure that we can finish out in a good, on a good showcase too. And they take like seconds to like load and upload, so it'll be fine. All right. Every time now that we run past him, he's gonna be wearing that frog costume. Oh, this is awesome. This is so good. That makes me so happy. We run past it like 3 more times this run. I'm so happy. So this is that sequence that we were talking about earlier where we kind of do stuff out of sequence and we have to go and talk to NPCs and they're going to give us like our little task to go and collect the research points for the other Elder Dragons. But we already did that. So we're going to talk to them and be like, hey, go find this stuff. You mean like this stuff? And they're like, oh yeah, you already did it. Cool, thanks. So just some optimal moving around here. We've upgraded our weapon 2 to the strongest weapon in the game at this point of the game. And so now we can go and finish out the run. So we have 3 Elder Dragons and then our final boss monster. And so pretty much what happens now, like story-wise, is, we thought Nergigante was what was causing the environmental instability that was we thought Nergigante was what was luring Zorah Magdaros into the Everstream, into the Elder's Recess, because like Nergigante feeds on Elder Dragons. It makes sense that it would be attracting the Elder Dragons to it so it can feed on them, right? But now that Nergigante is gone, other Elder Dragons are suddenly appearing out of the woodworks and like going crazy, and we're like, that's not a good sign. Like without Nergigante and the Elder's Recess, a ton of other Elder Dragons are now trying to get into the Elder's Recess. And so we are now going there to hunt them because we do not want them near the Everstream. So our first monster here is Kushaladora. And this is a really cool fight. This is a full lock in every meaning of the word. I'm going to let Green talk about it a little bit more, but this is why we SNS. This is why we SNS.
Yep, Elder Dragons were the first fights that were routed with Sword and Shield because it's just so strong here. Kushala has a very unique mechanic where his head does not have multiple different forms of CC. It only has a topple. So as long as we do the right amount of damage to his head and don't keep over damaging, he's just going to keep toppling over and over and over. So he starts this fight in the air, so we can drop him immediately with a flash. Clutch onto the head, do 2 claw hits, and then wait for him to stand up to do our 3rd to turn him toward the wall. And get our half tenderize off. Now during this topple, we can't do as much damage as we normally would because we'll over damage anyway, so we do a claw uppercut to get the rest of our tenderize. And now we can do a PR. There's our first topple. And this whole time, Bagel is paying attention to when he's getting blast procs, if he's activating the crystals on the ground to see if he needs to intentionally whiff any damage. Because, unfortunately, this full combo, if you get any extra damage, you will over damage the head and not get your topple. That voice line means we're at about 50% health remaining. That head break means we're at about 15%. So 1 or 2 more topples should do it. Nice.
All right, that was really good. Yeah, if I landed the falling shield bash on the final PR there, he would have died on that PR. That's why we kind of go for that. When we see the head break, we go for the falling shield bash instead because we're not worried about overwriting anymore. We want it dead. But if we are too good and we hit too many KO hits, that falling shield bash gets to KO, so we just get another head topple anyways. We just gotta do the PR. But that was really good. That was really, really good. What fight did I not use a might seed on? I have no idea. I could have sworn I used one on every single fight. It might have been Rathian, but no, he capped it. I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter either. It's just really funny. I do that often too. Was it Legiana? It might have been Legiana. Who knows?
Legiana looked right.
No, yeah, because I'm pretty sure I used it. Who knows? Well, I'll figure it out later. The great thing is that it doesn't affect too much about the run, which is great. All right, next fight is Val Hazak. This is a goofy one. 247 is a great time.
This next fight is something.
This next fight is something. Okay, I like it because it's variable, but it is hard to do. It's very hard to do.
Yeah, because this fight, unlike every other fight in this game where we're focusing on just a single body part's threshold over and over, so if you mess something up, it's easy to get it back just by hitting that same body part, Val Hazak has 2 different unrelated thresholds that we're balancing the entire time. So if you mess something up, it's very hard to figure out what went wrong and how to get back correctly.
It's great. I love it.
Yeah. So Val Hazak is going to revolve around alternating a body-wide damage threshold that gives us a very short flinch and a chest threshold that gives us a clagger that we're going to be using to get lots of piercing pods.
And Pierce Pod Slinger Burst is the only way that this works.
Yep.
So without it, we can't do it. And it's definitely a mechanic that's tuned for master rank, so it's over-tuned for high rank. So this is actually, like, I don't know, I think this is a really cool fight.
Claw Uppercut to dodge the roar, because Val Hazak has a very difficult roar to dodge normally. Baiting him for a wallbang. And then doing a very weird Claw Uppercut and Tenderize onto the chest.
Very easy to get the arms there instead.
Yeah.
Dang, didn't get it. I think I need to be running. You keep trying that. I was trying to bait out different AI though, and just didn't quite get it. Ooh, guard slash, nice. Just need to do about 300 damage to the chest here before I can start the script. Okay. What if we weren't doing all these things? Alright, we're good now. Can you talk about Effluvia real quick?
Yeah, so you can see this smoky aura around Val. While that's up, or if it's on the ground from an attack he does, it'll occasionally do damage ticks to you. And once it does enough ticks, you'll get the Effluvia status you can see on Bagel's health bar. It cuts your max health in half. Thankfully, it's not relevant as long as we keep the lock, but it's very obnoxious if something goes wrong. Now here we're into the lock, getting the short flinch with a piercing pod, and then going into a PR. Optimally, this will go Clagger, short flinch, repeat. So tenderizing on the Clagger to get another piercing pod, and slinger bursting to get the next short flinch. Nothing happening there is good because it lets us do another slinger burst for a short flinch. And our next Clagger.
That actually might work out for me. Uh oh, it didn't. That's right, it's body threshold. Alright, we're good. Yeah, that skipped the Clagger. Okay, cool, we're fine. Interesting. Not what I was expecting, but okay.
The other interesting thing about Val is it is possible to overdamage and skip a Clagger. It is not possible to skip a small flinch.
Nice. All right, so that went pretty well. I only had to use one max potion. I get one more here, and that's kind of a little scary because I had to use one on Nergi. We only get 3 for the run for 5 Elder Dragons, and so ideally we don't use one on Nergi and we don't use one on Kushala. But I had to use one on Nergi, so that means I'm kind of like 1 short right now of where I would rather be. But that's okay. So we're just not going to use one on Teostra. That's the solution.
Yeah.
Certainly, Teostra would be the easiest monster to not use a max potion on.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Green?
Yeah.
Right? Teostra's a bit difficult. That's our next fight. So all these other Elder Dragons, they've had 1 Elder Aura. Teostra actually has 2. He alternates between Blast Mode and Fire Mode. Which mode we get starting is RNG. And we want Blast Mode. Not for any other reason other than it's not actively killing us.
Yeah. So you may have noticed earlier, we actually didn't talk to one of the NPCs to get their quest. That's because we're going to talk to him now. This is an IGT strat that saves like 1 second.
And I'm
but
too
still
broken to stop doing it.
Yeah, it's still cool to show off.
And that's it. That's the whole strategy. We use the map inside the room. We use the map inside the room to fast travel here, since we'll be next to him and the room.
Yep. Teostra has a very interesting opener. He starts the fight with a roar that is very tight to dodge. So we actually start the fight by doing a guard roll, which is pressing the shield button right before a dodge, so you dodge but also draw your weapon at the same time, which lets us go into a back hop, which has a lot more iframes than a dodge. We are going to cancel the back hop by holding back, and then dodge forward and claw uppercut his head as he's coming down.
The goofiest. It's the goofiest movement ever. But man, does it work. Nice.
That claw uppercut gets us half the tenderize. This triple hit gets us the rest of the tenderize and cues up a roar. And we will back hop and use as an opening to mount. Now we can instantly drop this mount and flash him to get our topple. Wait just a second and start a PR. gets us a Clagger. Going to delay this Clagger as long as possible so that his flash will run out at the end of this, and he'll do a flash flail at the end, which makes landing this PR much more consistent. And now Teo is very similar to Kushala, but instead of just head topples, we're going to be alternating topples and Claggers. And that bite is scary because if he does that out of a Clagger, you just get hit. You can't do anything about it.
And with fire mode, it will just kill us.
But thankfully, fire mode is gone now.
Which is why we just kind of deal with it. Ooh, bad position there. That's a very unfortunate position, too. Alright, don't run at me, don't run at me. Alright, that's good. Gotta... Please don't, thank you. I don't like where I am.
Unfortunately going a bit out of bounds here, but...
Didn't matter. Wow, I would have saved good time too if if that PR actually hit the head. That can just happen sometimes. Like if you so off of the Clagger, getting the like wing / neck part is more common, but if your timing was good, your PR finisher drifts into the head instead of into the wing. Unfortunately, mine drifted into the wing, but that does mean he's only like a hit or two away from the Clagger. I just got kind of in a bad spot there, which happens. I just made like the wrong decision. I like tried to dodge, so I got caught by his head and pushed to like his shoulder, but I dodged and got caught in front of his head where the fire was coming out of him. Oh well.
Yeah.
That also does mean I do not have a max potion for the next fight, which is more relevant to have than any of these others. So I'm just going to full lock the next fight and not need the max potion. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a pretty good solution.
Yeah.
So this is the culmination of all of our efforts in the game, and we have discovered something. And by we, I mean somebody else. They have delved into the Elder's Recess and gone down to the very bottom of it, to an area called the Confluence of Fates, which is a really cool name, and they have found an egg. And anytime you find an egg in Monster Hunter, it's scary. And so we're going to go and do something about that egg because the egg is big and spooky. But our theory now is that the egg, or whatever it was luring Zorah Magdaros to it to absorb its bioenergy, and this is why the Elder's Crossing was happening more frequently. We're going to go and disrupt the egg. Also, we have not had the cat with us since Baroth. He's coming with us now. The cat has a poison weapon, and occasionally he's going to deal poison status, and that's going to deal a little bit of extra damage, and we like that. There we go. Oh my gosh.
And more importantly, he heals us, because this fight, even if you do it perfectly, you will probably die without the cat healing you.
Yeah, we tried catless a couple of times, and it's pretty cursed. So we just bring the cat with us. Oh, instant runnies. Tragic. Instant runnies is not optimal, even though we do want runnies. This just doesn't put him in a good position for us. So I'm trying to use my positioning and my movement to bait AI, and I'm using the signal to make the cat do the exact same thing, because it's not really clear who this monster, whose name is Xeno Jiiva, we didn't bring that up yet, is targeting, right? We can't really tell like at any given time who he's targeting because he's going to alternate between like us and the cat. As you can see here, he's just not fighting us. It's not going to be relevant when we can start the lock, but to start the lock, we have to get a leg topple here, which we're like 2 hits away from. There we go. And then I'll let Green talk about this.
Yep, so the rest of these topples, we're just going to be doing slinger bursts into rushed PRs, which times out just enough to connect the finisher again on most attacks. And Bagel's going to be looking for a voice line to try and set up the transition into phase 2, so the arm is a hit away from tender, I think. There's the voice line. Going to intentionally whiff his slinger burst here, so the arm will be a hit away from toppling.
Now I missed 2 hits of PR2. Or PR1 and 2. Oh, or that. That works.
Oh, that works.
Yeah. So he's 2 hits away. So we're going to sharpen and get ready to pre-buff ourselves going into the next section. All right, and then phase 2. So we're going to do 2 claw uppercuts onto the arm to refresh our tenderize. We need that tenderize going. Oh, I completely whiffed that. And completely dodged directly into that. What are you doing? All right, there's 1. See an early cat heal come out. That's probably not ideal. And 2. I can't hit him. I actually just can't. I actually just can't hit him. Help! Oh, no! I literally just have to hit his leg twice. Do I do it?
No, absolutely not.
It's 2
going to
hits
break
away,
on the first hit of finisher.
It's 2 hits away, though. Fine. See? It was 2. We would have been fine. And we got an enraged, oh well.
Yeah, the finisher does more damage than those.
Yeah, well... I think we could have gotten it. Okay, so now we're fighting the arena. No. That's okay. This is gonna be like a hit or 2 away. Oh, nope, this is good too. All right. Cat. Cat, please. You know, just keep doing this for like the next 3 minutes. That'd be great. All right. The corner of this thing just keeps catching me. That's probably a good thing because now I can heal. We should only be about like 2 or 3 hits away. So that's probably a good thing. Yeah, I just did that a little slow. I believe.
It works.
I believe the hand is real.
This is a blessed position, though. It may look awful, but it's not, I promise.
It's actually free. This is also a free position. Free on enrage. I am white sharpness. That's actually, or blue sharpness. That's actually really good timing for that. Yeah. But I missed. Nope, good. And then I'm gonna go for the greedy timed PR2.
Brother.
It keeps the lock. Oh, it didn't keep the lock.
Yeah. Like,
What? No, it keeps the lock. I must have ran out of a buff. I'm gonna eat this.
but it's also, like, not worth. Because, like, you're either a hit away from the lock or you go for the time PR2, miss the finisher, and you're, like, 10 hits away.
I mean, yeah, you're right. Oh, my tenderize ran out. All right, well, he's dead.
Yippee!
2 stance is pretty bad in phase 2. Like, they just lose, like, 10 to 15 seconds each. It's kind of unfortunate. It's pretty bad. That wasn't terrible. All right, that's time. That's Monster Hunter World Xeno percent. Thank you so very much for taking into consideration this run, and thank you, Green, for providing commentary for me when I wanted to lock in and pay attention. That was a 2:24.28 IGT, which like isn't terrible, especially considering we lost about 2 minutes doing that Hog and a Frog, which works out to 2:30 RTA, and like I said, our estimate is about 2:35, just to allow for even more bigger egregious errors. Like I'm telling you guys, I fully anticipate a cart to Teostra because of the way that we fight him is really, really cool, but also very, very risky. And you even saw there, like, we almost carted to Teostra. On top of that too, there's just like some things that can happen in the run sometimes that we have like zero control over, and they just lose time. But we have this down to a science now, and we've got it really surgical and real clinical. And so I think this is a great time to showcase this game too, with the Monster Hunter Wilds out, and just the absolute hype that is around the Monster Hunter community. It shows off a way that you can play Monster Hunter, and it can be a speed game. I've got nothing but love for this game. Green, did you have anything else that you wanted to add at the end of this?
Nope.
All right, cool. That's great. Yeah, once again, my name has been JalBagel. My name is JalBagel. That's Greenspeed. Thank you so very much for considering this. Once again, incentives for this, we are considering the Hunter name bid war, Palico name bid war, the Bully Dota Gamma bid war, which can go all the way up to Bullying Dota Gamma, and then, of course, the Hog and a Frog showcase incentives. I really do appreciate you guys for taking this into consideration. I really hope to see you all at GDQ. I'm going to go regardless one way or another, so I will see you there. But I really do hope that I get to showcase this, or Monster Hunter Wilds, at GDQ, at SGDQ 2025. Thank you very much again. You guys have a great rest of your day. Good luck putting together the games list, and hope to see you all in, Minnesota? In Minnesota. Bye, everyone.